All right, our next presenters are from WuXi Advanced Therapies. They are Amy Lamperti, Executive Director of Global Marketing, and Andreas Solomos, Director of Virology Operations. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Perry. I hope you can hear me, and I appreciate the introduction. We do have a very direct question that we've submitted as a poll that we hope that you'll take. Once again, I'm Amy Lamperti. I'm the head of global marketing for WuXi Advanced Therapies, and I'm joined today by Andreas, and he's going to partner with me to talk with you about our CTDMO. So first of all, many of you, like being familiar with Pfizer, may be familiar with WuXi and WuXi AppTech. What I want to do today is make sure that you are up to date and have the most current understanding of our business unit, which is WuXi Advanced Therapies. And we call ourselves a CTDMO instead of a CDMO because we have very unique capabilities in terms of our testing services. So we offer testing not only as an integrated service combined with our development and manufacturing services, but also as a standalone service that's provided to our fellow CDMOs, as well as people who do manufacturing in-house or have standalone needs. So Andreas's role today is going to be to get into that. I'm going to walk you through all the other things that our Advanced Therapies unit provides for our cell and gene therapy clients. So if you look at the top section of this slide right here, we do everything from supporting discovery level work all the way to actively producing commercial supply. And I want to focus a little bit on the discovery services just to educate you. And if you have any interest in any of those, I would encourage you to get in touch with us afterwards. But a couple of years ago, we acquired a company in Oxford, UK called Oxgene. And Oxgene offers some unique technologies as well as custom discovery services and things like cell line development and plasmid engineering. The technology platforms that they offer are called TESSA, which focuses on scalable production of AAV with increased yields, lower cost, higher quality than traditional plasmid generated AAV. They also offer something called Zoflex, which are our producer and packaging cell lines that offer the same value proposition for lentiviral vector production. So again, if you're interested in any of those services, please let us know. But what I wanted to focus on today is really everything that we do after that. So everything from the pre-IND, IND enabling study work that we do, all the way through commercial manufacturing. And I just want to make sure that you're aware of the capabilities and availability that we have. So if you look at the middle section of the chart currently, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, we released at the end of Q1, we made publicly known that we are supporting, I think it's 63 projects as of the end of March. And I would say 20 to 30% of them roughly are in viral vector development, manufacturing, both of drug substance and drug product. And the remaining 70 to 80% are all in cell therapies. And of that, the majority are really in CAR T products, both autologous and allogeneic. And then, as many of you will be aware, we are manufacturing commercial supply of TIL for Iovance. We'll talk a little bit more about that as a case study. And then we also support multiple other programs that are designed to support TIL products. And then we also have capability in MSC. And just like I think it was Theragent that mentioned that, they have scientists and experts with experience in other cell lines, we're very much the same, right? So those are just our where the bulk of our experience and track record exist. I'm not going to touch too much on our testing capabilities. I'm going to let Andreas do that. If you look at the bottom a third of this slide, this is our global footprint. What I want to make sure that you understand is that roughly somewhere between 85 and 90% of everything that we do is actually done in Philadelphia. So we do have the UK site, which focuses a lot on discovery and R&D. We do have facilities in China, which focus on plasmid production and viral vector manufacturing. But everything else that we do is done in a single campus in Philadelphia. So those facilities are purpose-built. If you haven't been to the Navy Yard in Philadelphia, in what they call Silicon Valley, I would encourage you to come visit us. You can also scan and watch a video tour of our campus, hopefully after you watch me give this presentation. But we have over 400,000 square feet of facilities there. We have 4 different buildings. The Navy site itself is just really fun to visit. So again, I would encourage those of you who are looking for a manufacturing partner like us or a testing partner to come visit. We have 4 different buildings there. Like I said, one of them is a commercial facility and non-viral manufacturing facility that is dedicated to cell therapy. We have another facility, another building, which actually you can see on the right side of here, that is focused on preclinical and early stage manufacturing. And on the left side, you see one that's focused on later phase and viral manufacturing. And then the 4th building on our campus is our dedicated testing facility, which again, I'm going to let Andreas cover more of, but that is our newest building. And what I want to do next is just talk a little bit about the kind of work that we do on our campus. So when you look at those 63 programs, the bulk of them, as you might imagine, just based on the state of our industry, are in IND enabling studies or very early phase clinical manufacturing. And for those projects, we pride ourselves on taking a very customized approach and really working with our clients to understand what milestones they may have already committed to or what milestones they're planning on committing to with their stakeholders, and working with them to design a study and an approach that will enable them to meet those timelines, taking into consideration certain risks that they may want to avoid or certain risks they may decide that they're willing to accept in order to accelerate their progress to clinic. So we have a very expert and very large process development and analytical method development teams that are, very capable of helping you optimize and scale up your processes, and also to develop the assays and transfer in methods to make sure that you get the data that you need to support your IND submission. We also have, and again, this is going to be a theme for our presentation today, we have integrated and co-located on-site testing capabilities and facilities, which again helps us to move faster with less risk than when you've got to involve multiple partners. The other thing I would say is that we have tremendous expertise in regulatory. We've passed, multiple, countless really client inspections and audits, and worked with every regulatory agency out there. So, we have a very strong team that can offer you support and advice and collaborate with your regulatory advisors as you're in these early stages to, again, determine what you're willing to accept as a risk and, help you understand what the regulators will be looking for and provide the best advice and support we can. Like I said, we have a broad experience with a wide range of vectors and cell types. And then I can't stress enough the benefit of having, streamlined project management between your development, manufacturing, and analytical method development and testing. I think that really helps to reduce risk and accelerate timelines. Like I said, in clinical manufacturing, that's really, when you look at the number of projects, clearly where, most of our work is being done. And a lot of that is in the early clinical stages. And we have 2 facilities that are supporting that type of work. We also have a very distinct leadership team and organization designed to support and make sure that those projects get the resources and the support that they need. And the benefit is that they leverage a quality system and supply chain system that has been structured and is scaled to support all the way through to commercial. The benefit of having kind of a distinct leadership team and organization to support the clinical work versus the commercial work is that they can look at that in a phase appropriate manner and only put requirements that make sense based on where you are in your program development. And then once again, we want to stress that the integrated co-located testing is really a huge benefit in terms of us having availability, capacity, and ability to support your programs. In terms of commercial manufacturing, I want to point out that, not only do we do commercial stage viral manufacturing in the buildings that I just showed you, but we have a non-viral cell therapy manufacturing site that is unique from there. It's about 55,000 square feet. And it was recently approved to manufacture Amtagvi, which is the name of Iovance's product. So this is all, been publicly announced. We co-manufacture that product with our client Iovance, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that relationship looks like, because I think it's a really good example of how we partner with cell and gene therapy providers, across the spectrum. So, that's a 7-year relationship that started very early on in the product's life cycle. We worked with them in process development to help them scale and also streamline the process. And we collaborated with their team, which, if you don't know, is also located in the Navy Yard in Philadelphia. So it's kind of a unique relationship that we're on the same campus, which is wonderful. And, we also work diligently. As I said, we have a very strong assay and analytical method development team. We worked with them collaboratively to develop 3 very challenging potency assays, which, if you're familiar with their program, you are probably well aware of. And then, we forged a long-term relationship, which we're, very proud of. And we are honored to be manufacturing Amtagvi, as they are too, in the Navy Yard. And we were thrilled to receive that approval in February. So with that, because we did want to take the opportunity to educate you about what we think is tremendously unique about us as a CDMO, I'm going to hand things over to Andreas to let him talk to you in a little bit more detail about our testing services and capabilities.
Thanks, Amy. As Amy mentioned, I am part of the testing side of WuXi. And so we have a campus of primarily 4 buildings within the Navy Yard. And recently in 2022, we opened what we term R400, which is our new purpose-built testing laboratory. So it's only testing space labs that were built that will accommodate samples that come from manufacturing runs off of our manufacturing buildings, or even if there are other CDMOs that work with us, they will submit their samples to us as well. But we've been a testing organization for over 20 years and have a wide range of experience and have handled multiple different types of products and still do. And they can range from antibody products to small molecules and vaccine products. And we also primarily focus on advanced therapies, which can range from cell products or viral vectors, primarily AAV vectors, lenti vectors, and adenovectors. We handle about over 1,700 global submissions from around the world. And we have about over 40 commercial lot release programs that we currently support. And we support programs and materials from all stages of programs, meaning we'll handle cell banks and raw materials, as well as any in-process samples or any final products, and accommodate all of those safety and regulatory tests that are required for submissions, whether they be INDs or BLAs. But we're also quite well versed in providing regulatory support and leveraging a lot of our expertise and helping guide clients throughout all stages of that product's life cycle, meaning from early development to IND submission, through early phase clinical to late phase clinical BLA submissions. I'm currently handling a lot of FDA feedback and regulatory support for some of our clients that are submitting currently, as well as commercial support. So lot release programs we also support. One of the unique things about WuXi and the fact that we've been around for so long, and we've kind of learned over the years what works best is our analytical method development and how it interfaces with our testing side. So we have quite an extraordinary culture at WuXi Advanced Therapies, where we're extremely collaborative, and we all work together from a development side, as well as our QC side, interfacing regularly for any types of tech transfers or any type of assay development. So that way we can really expedite getting a robust method developed and then transferred into our hands, and ultimately getting it qualified and eventually validated for your product matrix. All of that is focused around what we know is the primary need and desire from clients, which is speed from submission to ultimate results release and that certificate. So that way we can expedite how quickly we support your filings. So we are split up into multiple subgroups. As was mentioned, I lead the virology side, but we have other groups and support a wide variety of assays within WuXi Advanced Therapies. We have a molecular group, which focuses on your primarily nucleic acid focused scientific questions with a wide range of technologies, including ddPCR. We have my group, which is a little bit of a catch-all, where we do primarily cell-based culture assays and ask the question of, is there virus present where there shouldn't be virus, or is there risk of virus that shouldn't have developed, meaning replication confidence for your viral vectors, as well as your potency and titering assays. We also have a microbiology group and do mycoplasma testing. And all of this was brought recently and consolidated within Philadelphia, as we mentioned, to really help expedite the process of manufacturing and testing and consolidating that, making sure that we can get results and ultimately product release as quickly as possible and into patients as fast as we can. We support global submissions, so we're regularly audited by regulatory bodies across the globe, and receive feedback and incorporate that feedback into our assays or our processes or our procedures, really fine-tuning our workflows and our support for clients, really evolving our processes, but then also fine-tuning the assays and support that we can provide. We also do provide viral clearance studies. We have over 3,000 studies, and none of them have ever been rejected. And we do release testing, as I mentioned, for AAV, adeno, retroviral, and lentiviral vectors, as well as doing cell banking, production, and characterization as well. I believe that's it. So we have a robust track record demonstrating our ability to deliver and scale. We have integrated testing, which reduces the risks and accelerates timelines. And as of May 2024, we have capacity for new projects and testing clients. So with that, okay. I think we can open it up for questions.
Right. Thank you, Andreas and Amy. I think we can go to questions. We have just a few minutes. So here's a question that has to do with the natural competition between smaller projects at the preclinical or phase 1 stage and large commercial projects. Okay, you have finite resources in time, talent, expertise, and perhaps facilities. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I can take that one, Perry. So first of all, I think I talked a little bit about this. We do have distinct leadership teams who manage the commercial projects versus the clinical projects. And I think that the benefit of that is allowing the two to advocate for one another's goals and milestones. We do strategic planning and operation meetings on a regular basis. To make sure that we're flexing resources in the best possible way, always keeping obviously the patient and the client milestones in mind. And then, I think one of the things that we have working in our favor, obviously, is just the size and the scale of our operations. I mean, we have over 400,000 square feet and we have over 900 employees in Philadelphia on campus. So, we have a lot of resources and a lot of capability that we can move among projects as needed.
So you have lots of experience in this space. You've been at it a while and you do a lot of it. So advice for potential sponsors for clients, what kind of bottlenecks do you normally see? What can they do, or working with you, what can both of you do to kind of get things started and moving and avoid any slowdowns?
Sure. So I can take that from a development and manufacturing perspective, and then I'll allow maybe Andreas will have comments from a testing. Or they may be very similar, right? I mean, what we typically do is sit down very early in the process and take a very strategic view, especially on supply chain, to make sure that we understand what the critical materials are and what the timelines are. Things have improved a lot since the days of COVID, where we were obviously dealing with tremendous supply chain constraints, but there are still oftentimes materials or tests that, have longer turnaround times or, are challenging to source. So we're very much on top of that as early as we can be to avoid those kind of bottlenecks or time limiting, activities. I don't know if Andreas has anything to add to that.
Yeah, I would say to the same degree, it's being proactive and being proactive with communication. So I think the earlier that we know and the earlier that you engage with us about when to expect samples or when your manufacturing runs are occurring, so that way we can make sure that we're staffed appropriately, so we can make sure that we have all the reagents and the necessary support that we need to provide. The easier it's going to be, and the more we can assure that you'll actually have what you're engaging us for on time.
Great. So that comes up a lot. Talk sooner rather than later. How does that? So how do those initial contacts go? Who's part of that? And what would you recommend from the sponsor company? Like, who do you recommend them coming to the table with?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the sponsor company, whoever's going to lead the development of the timelines, right? So depending on the size of the company, that could be anything from a program manager to a COO or a CTO, right? Depending on where you are in the development of your own organization. But I think whoever is going to develop the timelines that then get used to set expectations with your stakeholders are the people that you want to bring to the table when you're first meeting with a CDMO, and, take advantage of what they know, right? I would talk to a CDMO as early as you possibly can before you set expectations with your stakeholders, to make sure that the timelines that you're setting, even if you have previous experience doing this, are realistic, right? Because you never know what the current state of affairs are, and where some of the bottlenecks might exist that you may not be anticipating just because you don't have, maybe the most up-to-date knowledge. Or so I would talk to your partners as early as you can, and again, whoever's funneling the data to make those commitments, bring them to the table.
That's great insight. That's really good. I love that. Speak to the CDMO before you speak to your stakeholders about setting expectations. Andreas, do you have anything to add? I don't want to leave you out of that part of the discussion.
No, it was actually stated quite well by Amy. But yeah, I would just iterate the same. I think the earlier that you engage with us, the more we can provide some insight, and the more we can work with you towards your goals. So whether they be end dates, and provide you more realistic feedback and timelines in terms of what is possible, what isn't possible, and what we can do to really provide that support.
Well, great presentation. Thank you both. Amy Lamperti and Andreas Solomos from WuXi Advanced Therapies. Great presentation overall. Thank you for joining us today. In about 24 hours, you'll all get an email. In the email will be a link that will take you to a recording of today's event. If you go to outsourcepharma.com, under the events tab, you can access recordings for the entire week. And we've had a bunch of them. And if they're not there yet, they will be there soon. We have one more session later today at 2 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. That too is on cell and gene therapy, so we hope you join us. And that concludes this session. Thank you.